So there was a women's pool tournament. Pool, what I mean is billiards. Where you have the cue stick and you're um, putting balls into the pockets on a table. I'm sure you know what this is. But it was a women's tournament, and the finalists, the two finalists competing with each other, were transvestites. These were men that were claiming to be women or transitioning into being women. And something that we all know is that there are physiological differences in a male and a female brain. Men have a propensity to have an understanding of mechanics and spatial differences, whereas women, it tends to be more verbal. And there's actually physiological differences in the brain. I know you know that, but nonetheless, we have the absurdity of these two transvestites being the two finalists in the women's tournament. And again, because pool is a spatial sport, it requires a good spatial understanding, so naturally they have a huge competitive advantage. It would be like getting into an arm wrestling match with a Neanderthal. Well, obviously Neanderthals had shorter limbs and they were very muscular. A Neanderthal would throw a modern human like a rag doll. They would throw you across the football field. So now, when I saw the article, there was an X post by Riley Gaines, and you all know who she is. But she said exactly what my initial thought was, is this would be a fantastic South Park episode. This is just perfect. It's right up their alley. And I'm sure they can make this hilarious. These two transvestites competing for the women's, for that pool tournament. But the other thing about this is, yes, it's not a nice thing to do. Obviously, for women that practice and they play pool, and some of them are very good. They're obviously really good at it to be there, and they compete only to be, outcompeted by essentially men. It's a good demonstration of the absurdity, and I've been saying this over and over again, of nihilism, like this 2 + 2 = 5 mentality. And again, this goes back to Immanuel Kant and a whole line of German thinkers, if you can call them that hijacked classical liberalism and has produced the modern left that we see today. So the answer to this is rationality. Okay, we can identify that the male brain is shaped differently and has a competitive advantage with regard to spatial understanding. We know that, and that that it's not right. Like, essentially, their brains already make it so that they couldn't possibly be a woman. Medical technology has not advanced to the level of changing the primary sexual characteristics of someone who's trying to transition. So this is irrationality, illogical, on a scale that everybody can see. And it should be front and center. Everybody should see it. They can see the absurdity. And this nihilism can be on its way out. But the important thing is that we replace it with reason. Okay, because that is the solution. If you replace it with mysticism, you're just covering up one problem for another. Mysticism, essentially, epistemologically speaking, makes the same error that this is making right now. So share this article. I'll post it in the link below. Show people the absurdity of what's going on, and people can say, okay, this is really stupid. And then, like I said, make sure to tell them that there are differences in a male and a female brain, and that's why that these transvestites have a competitive advantage in a sport like pool.